In the period from September 1990 till February 1991, 3 innocent Indigenous kids were stolen from their friends and families, never to be seen alive again. Throughout this podcast, we will be discussing the sudden murder of these 3 kids and how the potential killer was let off free. Hi, my name is Mica, and today I am joined with Billy to take you through this story of 3 innocent Indigenous children from the same neighbourhood who were murdered in cold blood by an intimidating and sadistic man.
The case opens with a man murdering 3 Aboriginal children within the time period of 5 months. All 3 victims were taken after parties that were held in the town in an area known as the Mission. The main and only suspect was Jay Hart, aged 25 at the time, was charged and tried twice in 1994 and 2006 for the murder of 16-year-old Colleen Walker and Clinton Speedy.
On the 18th of February 1991, it all starts with Clinton Speedy's body being discovered in a shallow bush grave off Congaree Road, just off Bowraville. Clinton Speedy was last seen leaving the Mission with Jay Hart. He'd invited Clinton and his girlfriend back to his caravan on his mother's property. The night Clinton had disappeared, a truck driver was coming up onto a hairpin bend known as Necro Corner. The driver describes coming around the corner and seeing a body lying in the middle of the road, and only barely manages to stop in time. As a mysterious man comes around the corner and says the boy was on the road just drunk and they can move on. But as they kept driving, they drove past a station wagon with the boot open, as if Clinton had been placed in the hopes of being run over. A short 2 months after Clinton's body was found, another body was discovered on the same road. It was 4-year-old Evelyn Grenier, who had disappeared weeks earlier. Now, Billy, I believe you've done some extensive research on Evelyn and found some pretty convincing evidence.
Yes, thanks Mika. I've looked into this case extensively and found some compelling research all pointing to the one suspect, Jay Hart. On the night Evelyn Grenier disappeared, her grandmother had woken up at 3 a.m. and heard Evelyn crying. She got up and went to check on Evelyn, but the door was locked. The baby continued to cry until she heard a loud thud and the crying was silent. And in the same night, their neighbours reported seeing a large white man leaving through the back door. After the disappearance of Evelyn Grenier a few weeks later, Denise Jarrett had been in bed with her 2 children by her side. She woke up to see Jay standing in the doorway just watching. Denise was terrified for herself and for her children, so she laid there and waited for him to leave.
Now, you mentioned the neighbours seeing a large white man leaving the house, much like the appearance of Jay Hart, I would presume. And I haven't found any evidence of what may have happened to Colleen Walker, and they've never found her body. Is that right?
Yes, extensive searches were held around Bowraville, but she was never found, so she could have been disposed of carefully or she may have just run off.
Yeah.
And back to Jay. He was last to be seen with all 3 victims the night they disappeared. Even with Colleen, which pushes the fact that she was murdered, as she had denied his advances earlier in the night, and she was seen following her after the party.
Now, as I recall, Jay was arrested and taken to court on the 8th of April 1991 for the murders of Evelyn and Clinton, but was then acquitted for this trial for unknown reasons. Now, the court still refuses to release any more information about the trial.
Yes, very true. Jay Hart was indeed charged over the murder of Clinton Speedy and Evelyn Grenier. Jay also did state that he would be in favour of a retrial to prove his innocence and get his name cleared. Even the New South Wales Police Department had lodged a submission to the state government in 2000 for a retrial, but nothing has happened since.
Now, coming from an unbiased opinion, after all the information discussed and read, I would say that my opinion is strongly pointing towards Jay Hart as the murderer for all 3 victims. He was seen with all 3 victims at some stage in time, and as the only suspect, he has a lot of evidence pointing at him.
I strongly agree. After everything we've gone through, and all the information there is, the only possible suspect is Jay, and I think he should be retrialed and the case reopened to find some more proof and bring justice to the families and friends involved. I also think Clinton Speedy's girlfriend at the time of his death should be interviewed about her going to the caravan with Jay Hart and Clinton, as she was never questioned.
That's it for today, everyone. In today's episode, we discussed the deaths of the 3 innocent kids from Bowraville who were all murdered in cold blood within the time span of a year, with only one suspect, Jay Hart.